What's up, everyone? Welcome to our NBA mock draft video where we go over our picks for the first round of Thursday night's NBA draft. We've got a really deep and overall just a talented draft class this year.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, let's just get right into it.
So we got Detroit first up.
Yep.
On our mock, we have them taking the big point guard. Everybody's got this guy going, Cade Cunningham.
He's unanimous at this point.
Yep.
Great size at 6'8", dynamic speed, brings great physicality on the defensive end, solid shooter.
Unlike Ben Simmons, so.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that can come in and immediately start with this Pistons team.
Yep.
He does lack a little bit of explosiveness. There's some doubt whether he's going to be a primary scoring option, but with the right pieces around him, he can definitely thrive.
Yeah.
Moving on here to the Houston Rockets at 2.
Yeah, so we have shooting guard Jalen Green.
Yep.
And this is where things start to even out.
Yeah.
Right? It's really tough. Houston could take Evan Mobley, who may be the second-ranked player at this point.
Yeah.
But we have them going with a guard, building their guard depth.
Yeah.
As scoring seems to be something they need to work on. So
I think it's more of a pressing need for them as well, for someone to slot in nicely next to John Wall.
Yep.
He's very explosive, good, strong, creative finisher, strong shooter. He needs some discipline defensively.
Yeah.
His offensive style is a little inconsistent. He's a little undersized too. But overall, just a great talent playing in the G League this year.
Yep.
Should slot in nicely with the Rockets. Now moving on.
Cleveland. So another shooting guard, simply because they have Jared Allen already.
Another Jalen.
We have Jalen Suggs going.
Yep. He's got the prototypical guard build up here.
Yeah.
He's got a good frame. He's a very smart and disciplined player offensively, and he's a good defender as well. Really, he's one of my favorite guys in this draft. The only thing is he could use a little consistency shooting. He's not the lengthiest guy. He's not going to kill you with the wingspan and his reach there.
Yep.
But overall, just a great prospect. Will fit in nicely with Colin Sexton likely being traded from Cleveland.
Yep.
Probably on draft night too.
Yeah.
He's going to slot in nicely in that backcourt next to Darius Garland.
Cool.
So moving on here with the 4th pick.
Yes, we have the Toronto Raptors, and if he's still available, they very much need this pick in Evan Mobley, the big center.
Yeah. Yeah, big center out of USC. He's really quick and coordinated for a center, too. Yeah. Really fits that modern big man mold that you kind of need because he can hit threes. He's a good shooter. Comfortable handling the ball, too, and passing.
Yeah.
He's got a great wingspan, too. 7 feet, but a 7'4" wingspan there, so great reach that helps him protect the rim. He lacks a little bit of physicality. He's not the greatest of rebounders for someone of his size.
Yep.
He lacks a bit of intensity, leaves you wanting more when it comes to possession after possession. And again, there's doubt whether he can be a primary scoring option, but as a center, you really don't need to be that guy. And I think with this top 4 here, the top 4 seems pretty unanimous in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that can sneak in.
And I think Cade Cunningham.
Maybe Scotty Barnes, but
maybe.
It's unlikely.
I think these 4 are the guys that I feel confident could come in and start right away with their teams. Everyone else, I see potential for maybe starting at some point, but definitely not right off the bat. But I think from day one, all of these guys could come in and make a big impact in the starting lineup for their teams.
Yep. And then at 5... we have the Orlando Magic taking Jonathan Kuminga.
The second guy from the G League Ignite team.
Yep.
Was very popular this season and is going to be very popular for recruits coming in.
Yep.
In future classes. Jonathan Kuminga's got great size. He's very explosive. He's a good shooter. And he has versatile defensive potential. Now I say potential because he does need some improvement there. He's a young player, a little undisciplined. He's got very much raw talent. He lacks some offensive intelligence and efficiency, takes some bad shots sometimes, relies on his jump shot a little too much.
Yep.
And of course, he needs good coaching. There's issues with the body language there and his approach to games. So he needs to go into a situation with good coaching. And I think with Orlando, they're built for a long rebuild here.
Yeah.
I think with multiple picks in this draft, they can really take a risk on some of these raw potential guys.
Yep.
And he's definitely not going to fall to their next pick at 8.
Yeah, for sure. So at 6, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking small forward Scotty Barnes.
A nice safe pick.
Yep.
They've got three picks, so like Orlando, they could look to get some a little more risk in some picks. But
Yeah.
Scotty Barnes, nice safe pick. Great size. He was an elite defender at Florida State this year. He's very versatile offensively. He can go up and run the point. He can offensive rebound. He can play off the ball. He passes very well. The issue is he's not the greatest of floor spacers, which ideally you'd need for guys like Lou Dort and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yep.
But not a big deal. That's something that can obviously be developed. His shooting mechanics are a little wonky. He's not the greatest in half-court offense. Very good on the fast break, so definitely have to get up the floor fast for him to thrive offensively. He's not the quickest of guys either, but he makes up for that with his elite defensive play. I think he's arguably the best defensive wing player in the draft, maybe the best defensive player in this draft class.
Okay. So then at 7, we have the shooting guard going to Golden State and James Bouknight.
Yeah, James Bouknight, good size. He's a great scorer. He's got real smooth hands. He's a creative finisher, very crafty. He's not a catch and shoot guy though. He's got a little bit of a streaky jump shot. He needs to limit the turnovers a bit. But overall, I think the creative finishing is something that'll slot in very nicely with a catch and shoot guy like Clay. And a shooter like Steph Curry. I don't know why his name escaped me there, but I think he'll fit in well there. But definitely, he's a little raw too.
Yeah,
definitely needs some work.
And with Orlando's second pick, a guy we're very excited about.
Yeah,
point guard Davion Mitchell.
Davion Mitchell is my favorite person in this draft class.
Yeah,
I think he would fit in wonderfully with Cole Anthony in that backcourt in Orlando. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He's a terrific on-ball defender, very intense. And overall, he's quick and sound offensively. And he's just mature. He's a little bit older than a lot of guys in this draft class. But overall, a great guy to have in your locker room. He's very, very well coached. Or he's very easy to coach is what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think some of those traits that I mentioned can be considered weaknesses. He is older, so he's not as young. There's a little bit less to build off of and dig for. He's smaller in size than most guards. He's definitely smaller than Cade Cunningham at 6'8".
Yep.
He doesn't get to the line very often, so he's not as aggressive offensively as you'd hope he would be. But when he does get to the line, it can get ugly sometimes. He's only a 66% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
There's some doubts of how good of a 3-point shooter he'll be. But overall, I think his offensive mind as a whole and his court vision is fantastic. Very excited to see what he can do with Orlando.
Okay, and then at 9, we have another shooting guard, a very shooting guard heavy draft.
It is.
And Josh Giddey going to Sacramento.
Yeah, Josh Giddey's really young out of Australia. But he's got great size for a shooting guard there. Definitely could be someone that you could think to move to the small forward as well.
Yep.
Great passer. He's what a lot of people consider a point forward. He can run the offense as well. He's a work in progress on defense, but he's got great stealing prowess.
Okay.
So you got to take note of him on the perimeter. He will look to steal the ball, but he's a little undisciplined defensively.
Okay.
But solid rebounder too. Not the biggest scoring threat. He definitely has to develop his offense.
Yep.
But he's a type of guy that, with the future of Buddy Hield a little uncertain here. Obviously, he doesn't offer the same skill set as Buddy Hield, but he could complement De'Aaron Fox in that backcourt very nicely eventually.
Yep. Then at 10, we have the big small forward going to New Orleans and Franz Wagner.
Franz Wagner, great size, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
The issue that I have with Wagner is you're probably thinking, well, they have a lot of forwards in New Orleans, with Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson commanding the forward. Where is he going to fit in? I think he definitely could shift to the shooting guard there. I think he's good at facilitating the offense. Good at spacing the floor, and that's something that you need. He doesn't need to be a primary scoring option when you have Ingram, when you have Bledsoe, when you have Williamson.
Yep.
So I think I think Wagner fits in very nicely there. Probably not starting right away, obviously, but he'll be good off the bench. Great impact defender. And again, he's not a first scoring option. He's inconsistent from three, but that's not what they need right now. They need guys to facilitate that offense. And they got to think down the road of bringing in big name talent, or drafting potential big name talent, to try to entice Zion Williamson to stay, because that's always an issue.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, you can kind of build around these two in Franz Wagner and Brandon Ingram.
You can, for sure.
Yep, so at 11, the Charlotte Hornets, we have them taking center, Alperen Sengun.
Yeah, probably one of the most interesting guys in this draft class. He's a center, but he's only 6'9".
Yeah.
So his size is an issue there. There needs to be some work done defensively, and he's not strong from three. But I think he could very well mold himself into this modern big man role. He's a great interior scorer.
Yep.
He's had success against grown men in Turkey. And that's something that comes in handy. It came in handy with LaMelo Ball, going overseas to play. And he's an offensively versatile guy. I think he'll fit very well in a LaMelo Ball run offense here.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got good things to say about this guy. His size doesn't really come into factor in this case. I think he'll fit well as a smaller center in Charlotte's system.
Yep. And at 12, we have the San Antonio Spurs taking shooting guard Keon Johnson.
Yeah. He would have. This will be a little bit of a slip for him in the draft. He could go higher. Has potential to go top 10. I could very well see New Orleans possibly picking him up. I think he fits in nicely, though, with San Antonio, especially if they lose DeMar DeRozan. He's a guy that you could develop into that DeMar DeRozan type of player, because he's great. He's a great athlete, very explosive, and he's a versatile defender, which DeMar was.
Yep.
He still is developing offensively. He's still a work in progress there. He needs to work on his shot mechanic. It's a little slow right now. He does have that slender frame, but again, so did DeMar. There's a lot of guys in this league who have a slender frame. In a less physical league that the NBA is right now, I think he can thrive, and there definitely is a bright future for Keon.
Yep. So in Indiana, we have the small forward Corey Kispert going.
Arguably the best shooter in this draft.
Yeah.
Shot 48% from three at Gonzaga this year. He's got a good size and frame. He's a very smart player. Obviously, he has that deep experience making the national finals there, even though they came up short to Baylor.
Yeah.
He's not strong in the paint. He's a good off-ball defender, but when on-ball defender, he can get beat because he's not the most athletic guy in this draft. But overall, I think he'll fit well on the wing for a guy like Malcolm Brogdon. Definitely someone who can spot up and shoot. So overall, he does a lot of good things that Indiana's looking for.
Yep. At 14, with Golden State's second pick, we have them taking a center, which is a need for them. More bigs in general.
Yeah.
USMAN GARUBA.
And USMAN GARUBA is a guy that could fit into the power forward role too if you want to run him with
Wiseman.
Yeah. He's a guy that could be very comparable to Draymond Green.
Yeah.
He's arguably the best defender in this draft. Draymond Green's one of the best defenders in the NBA right now.
Yep.
He like a lot of these other European guys, he's playing against grown men, and he's playing very well against grown men out in the Euro League. He's a solid passer, great team player. Nothing but good things to say from coaches. But he's not an offensive threat. He averaged under 5 points at Real Madrid this year.
Yeah.
He's not a great shooter, so he's not going to fit that modern big man role.
No.
But because he's such a solid passer and defender,
he'll work well with Golden State.
Golden State doesn't need that. They've got enough scorers that if they can get another guy like Draymond Green, definitely eases the workload off him because he's been injury prone.
Yep.
Usman Garuba would fit very nicely into Steve Kerr's lineup.
Yes, sir. So at 15, with the Washington Wizards selection, we have them taking small forward JALEN Johnson.
Yeah, great wing player out of Duke. He's strong and explosive, versatile defender, overall crafty on offense. Does have a few offensive issues. He can be a little predictable, so definitely needs to switch things up and hone in on that craftiness there to avoid getting predicted by defenders. Mm-hmm. He's got some shot mechanic issues, but so do a lot of guys. That's something you can work around. He doesn't have the greatest of reach, so a lot of guys can go past him pretty quickly when he's defending.
Yep.
So I mean, you can't do anything about wingspan, but definitely something to develop his defensive skills.
Yeah, fair enough. So with their second pick at 16, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking your cousin, shooting guard Moses Moody.
Same last name. Definitely not my cousin. He's got a lot more athletic ability than I do.
Fair enough.
He's a good size, has great wingspan. He's a good shooter from half court there. Again, versatile, crafty defender. His shooting is inconsistent though. There definitely needs to be some work done with the shooting form there. He's not consistent when it comes to defensive intensity. He needs to kind of turn it up to a level and then stay there. And he's a pretty quiet player. There's certain stretches where he can just go unnoticed on the court. Definitely something that needs to be worked on if he's going to play at the pro level.
Fair enough. At 17, we have the Memphis Grizzlies taking another shooting guard in Zaire Williams.
Yeah, I really like this pick. I think he would fit very well with Memphis in terms of who they like to have on the wing, those lengthier wings. He's very tall, very mobile. He's got good shooting potential and smooth mechanics. The shot isn't necessarily there yet in terms of confidence, but it'll come. He's got good court vision. He's a good off-ball defender. On-ball defending needs a little bit of work. His play styles are a little inconsistent right now between whether he's aggressive or whether he's facilitating. Kind of needs to hone in on one of them at a time. He's a thin frame, but that's not the biggest issue. There's a lot of guys that have succeeded in this league with a thinner frame. And his offensive production's a little streaky, but overall, this would be a solid pick if Memphis can get Zaire Williams.
Yeah, for sure. So with their third pick at 18, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking the shifty power forward in Kai Jones.
Yeah, this is another one where they can afford to take some risks here. Kai Jones, there's some work to be done with him right now. He's got good footwork. He's very quick and agile, so definitely something that can help fill the modern big man role in the NBA. He brings great energy to the floor. He's got really good offensive potential. He lacks that big game experience though. Definitely. He came into basketball a little later than most. So he's really going to, there's a lot of room to build here. He's very foul prone on defense. Definitely needs to work on that. His frame is still developing, but yeah, all in all, a work in progress, but definitely worth the risk for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, especially with their third pick at this point. Having Scotty Barnes up in like for our mock. They can take some risk at this point.
For sure.
So at 19, we have the New York Knicks with their first of two selections. Taking shooting guard Trey Murphy III.
Yeah, great prospect in Trey Murphy. He's got a great frame, great reach, great wingspan for him there. He's a fluid athlete, great shooter, one of the best in the country, shooting 43% from three, 93% from the line this year. So he's very efficient offensively. He's still developing defensively though. There needs to be some work there. He's not the greatest. He's good at catch and shoot, not the greatest at shooting off the dribble. So definitely people need to create his shots for him. And he's not a physical finisher yet. Again, he's more of a shooter, which the Knicks could use. The Knicks it really played well with guys like Alec Burks this year. I think he can assume a role like that. Obviously more potential than Alec Burks, but he'll fit in well with this offense in New York.
And then at 20, we have the Atlanta Hawks taking another shooting guard in Joshua Primo.
The Canadian. So Primo's a great shooter. He's got smooth mechanics and an overall solid defender. Definitely someone who fits in on all aspects of this Hawks team. He needs to develop an aggressive offensive game though. Very much he's a shoot first kind of forward or wing player here. He's got a slender frame. Definitely needs to bulk up a little bit. But overall, if Atlanta can get him, this is a solid pick in Primo.
And with their second of two picks, we have the New York Knicks taking the slim center Isaiah Jackson.
This would be big for them if they can get Isaiah Jackson, especially with Mitchell Robinson's injury history up front. They're a little uncertain when it comes to the center position. But he's got great frame, great wingspan. He's a fantastic rim defender. So again, like Mitchell Robinson, he's got good upside offensively. Definitely needs some work with his offense. But His fundamentals need a little bit of work defensively. He lacks a little bit of strength, definitely needs to put on some weight, but for a big man like that, not too hard to do.
Yeah.
A lot of potential in Isaiah Jackson. I think he could very well become a fan favorite in New York for years to come.
Okay. With the 22nd pick, we have the Los Angeles Lakers taking point guard, which they very much need.
Yeah.
Jared Butler.
Now, obviously, they're going to go out and shop for a veteran point guard to start, but
yeah.
Jared Butler will slot in very nicely with whoever they pick up. He's got a great resume for such a young age. You know, he's only 20 years old right now. Already a national champion in the NCAA. He's very versatile offensively. He's made strides defensively. Still needs some work defensively there, but his offensive versatility is something that the Lakers would really enjoy. Small frame. He's not overly physical yet. Not a good rebounder for his position.
Yeah.
But they don't really need that in LA. He's not great inside the arc, actually. So
okay.
he's very much a 3-point heavy kind of distance rangy offensive guy.
Yep.
But he does need to develop some sort of inside game.
Yeah, for sure. Now at 23, their first of back-to-back picks, we have the Houston Rockets selecting point guard Sharif Cooper.
Yeah, definitely a unique back-to-back we've got going here. So Sharif Cooper out of Auburn. The point guard's very efficient offensively. He knows how to get to the free throw line, which is very admirable in a guard these days.
Yeah.
He's got dynamic speed. He can really change speeds very quickly. He's great at handling, great passer. But he's a little small for the modern day guard. He's a little limited defensively. He's not really consistent when it comes to shooting threes. That's not really his game. His game is to get to the line. And he's not great off the ball offensively. So he kind of needs to be in control of the offense there. Not really good at trying to create open looks for himself.
Yep. Then with their second pick at 24, we have Houston taking power forward JT THOR, the big man.
Yeah, and Sharif Cooper's teammate at Auburn, who is slated to now, if our mock turns out to be correct, he'd also be his teammate with the Rockets too. A lot of potential at JT THOR, and with 3 picks for the Rockets, they can also take this kind of risk and take these potential type of guys.
And they need some big players.
Yeah, especially when you get a surefire like Jalen Green, who definitely will come in and impact on day one. JT THOR is a guy that in a couple years will provide some sort of impact there. He can play the modern big man game. He's got a good shot for someone his size. He's an agile defender. He plays very well above the rim. He needs to add some bulk there. He's a very slender build, not overly powerful because of that. And he needs to work on the low post game there. He's not great in the low post, but with the game changing for big men, it's not the biggest of issue if they don't play that well there, but definitely needs to develop some sort of low post game.
Yep. At 25, we have the LA Clippers taking shooting guard Chris Duarte.
One of the oldest guys in this draft, another Canadian as well.
Yeah.
He's a great shooter. He's got great shooting mechanics. He's great in the pick and roll offense there. Very instinctual defender. However, he is 24 years old. That's the one thing that I think we'll see him drop to kind of the low first round, maybe into the second round, but I think he's good enough to be a first round pick here. Not the biggest deal when you play for the Clippers too. They're a very talented team. And with Kawhi out this year and his future uncertain with the Clippers, he's that type of guy that can slot in on the wing and play very well. He just needs to refine his play around the rim a little bit more. He's a little small compared to other guards, but overall his offensive upside is there despite the age.
Yep, and then at 26, we have the Denver Nuggets taking Cam Thomas.
Could very well be the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
Cameron Thomas is a guy that's projected to go low in the first round, maybe second round. I think he's definitely has enough potential to be a first round guy.
Yeah.
Denver needs guys in the backcourt. They're a little thin on their depth chart when it comes to shooting guards.
Yep.
And he is a confident and efficient scorer. Cam Thomas is good shooting range. He's a good game manager. He can handle the big stage, but he lacks that offensive intensity he has. He lacks that in defensive intensity. Definitely needs to work on that.
Yep.
Sometimes plays a more selfish game. He takes some difficult shots, takes some abnormal shots. Definitely needs to utilize his teammates a little bit more. And like Jonathan Kuminga, he also has body language issues. So he needs a little bit of an attitude adjustment when it comes to going to the pros, but a lot of guys have been like that and have panned out very well.
Yep.
So definitely could be the steal of the draft.
Yep. So at 27, with the Brooklyn Nets, we have them taking point guard Tre Mann. Great guard depth here.
He's a great handler. He's got dynamic speed. He's a very shifty player offensively. He's a soft touch shooter. He's great from three. He's got solid passing potential there, and he's a decent size for a guard as well.
Yeah.
But he lacks that defensive toughness that he'll bring on the offensive end. He needs to elevate his passing game to a pro level. Not a bad passer by any means, but definitely needs to take that next step. He needs to be a little bit more physical too.
Yep. Now at 28 with the Philadelphia 76ers pick, we have them taking shooting guard Jaden Springer.
Yeah, and they always have a need for more shooters in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He's a good, smooth shooter. He's also very defensively focused, which will pair up well with a guy like Matisse Thybulle. And he's very disruptive when it comes to... He's a very defensive-first player as well, but a good shooter. That's a good 3-and-D guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not overly explosive, though. He's a little small for a wing player. He creates a fair amount of turnover, so definitely needs to work on that, but a lot of college players do when they come in. And he needs to start creating his own shots. Definitely more of a catch-and-shoot guy, but he'll fit very well, especially with Ben Simmons likely out there. They need to build that backcourt depth up there, and I think Jaden Springer can definitely be a Danny Green type piece, actually.
Yep.
Good 3-and-D guy.
Okay. 29, we have the Phoenix Suns taking point guard Miles McBride.
Not a whole lot of bad things to say about this guy. The West Virginia product, very good this year, very compact, athletic guard. I've seen comparisons to Kyle Lowry here.
Mm-hmm.
He plays that hard-nosed game. He's got great wingspan, though.
Yeah.
So definitely makes him a peskier defender. Very dynamic scorer, but he is a little smaller. Good wingspan, but he is a little shorter.
Yep.
And he only recently broke out as a scorer, so there's still some question marks on whether he can keep up the scoring pace that he established this year.
Yep. So rounding out the first round at 30, we have the Utah Jazz selecting center Day'Ron Sharpe.
Yeah. Great year at UNC this year. He's a great interior player, very powerful big man. He's surprisingly mobile, though, for his big frame. So that modern-day big man role definitely could be there, despite his size.
Mm-hmm.
He does need to develop that modern big man style, though. Doesn't have it yet. There are some questions about his shooting, but as a big center like that, don't necessarily need to be a shooter. Utah would really love this pick. I really hope Day'Ron Sharpe goes in the first round because I think he's first-round talent.
Yeah.
That'll do it for our NBA draft video. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like down below. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our other uploads. Comment on your takes on the first round of this year's draft, what you think of our takes. And with that, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.